Welcome to the Soul Happy Success Show. Coach Rebecca here, and today we are overcoming severe imposter syndrome as a coach. Oh, yes, because 70% of people report that they are experiencing imposter syndrome. Google searches have gone up by 900%. This is something we have to talk about. And before we dive in, please like and subscribe. It helps so much, and it means that you don't miss any more fire like this. And let's dive in with imposter syndrome, which by definition means the persistent inability to feel that your success is deserved. So it's this idea that you're not good enough, that you're out of place, that you're a fraud. You doubt yourself when things are going well and when they're not going well with imposter syndrome. Maybe you got that promotion and you thought, oh, I'm not worthy of being here. You didn't go for that promotion because you didn't think you were worthy of being there. So it's kind of a two-sided coin. And I've experienced this so much. I like to always give you where I learned my information or where I earned it, I suppose, because I think that, especially with imposter syndrome, it's something that's so personal. And I experienced it so much, specifically in relationships for me. It really showed up a lot. Like, am I good enough to be with this person? And if you met my husband, you'd know why I think that he is an absolute joy, God, pleasure. I just adore him so much. And that was hard in the beginning, and I'm very fortunate now that I went on this journey with personal imposter syndrome and we've really come out the other side. And also I experienced this so much in business, and especially being, when I was in my early 20s, I was in careers coaching, and I worked specifically in oil and gas for a period of time through a recession, and lots of people were losing their jobs, and we were trying to get them re-employed in other sectors and get them training and get them funding. And it was a really difficult time because there I was essentially telling people what to do, like what their next steps were, when they were going through this grief that comes alongside losing a job and being made redundant. And it was really challenging because, I was there in my early 20s, and most of the people I was speaking to were in their 50s, were male. And, they really thought, who is this person to tell me that things are different than they've been before, that I have to use a CV and I have to apply for a job and I have to go to an interview, when typically that industry, and specifically where I worked in Northeast Scotland, you got it through who you knew, and then you were in that job for such a long time that, you never had to think about other options of employment. And that was really hard for people, and especially because of the redundancies, there were recessions in certain areas, and like Aberdeen got hit really bad, Aberdeen in Scotland, and it just changed. I mean, that industry, it just changed the landscape of what that city was. And these men were losing their cars, they were losing their homes, they were losing family. It was really deep work. And there I was, 20 years old, telling them how the world worked. I mean, of course they were not going to be impressed with that or happy about it. But I experienced so much imposter syndrome because I started to think, oh my gosh, who am I to tell them this? And then I started to see results with what I was telling them, and I thought, oh, I get it now. So I got a lot of lessons really early on. And I was fortunate that when I then transitioned from careers to life coaching, that I had a lot less of that imposter syndrome lurking around. So I was able to make that transition without having a life coaching certification. And that's what we're going to get into today, because I don't think you need one. I just have a fiery passion and, consume personal development like it is going out of fashion, even though it is totally coming into fashion because we all love some wellness. So I feel you. I've given you some examples of specifics that I've been through, and I would love to hear your experiences. Like, please DM me at Soul Happy Success, comment, like, let me know what's been going on for you, because I want to dive deeper and explore this. This is genuinely my area of expertise, and I want to help you overcome it in any way I can. So let's explore why and how to overcome imposter syndrome in your coaching business in 3 mindset shifts. So, mindset number 1, there is no certificate necessary. Do not let anyone else tell you otherwise, right? A coach is not a doctor, is not a therapist, is not a lawyer, is not someone that needs the certificate in order to practice. That's not accurate. There is no overarching governing body across the world of coaches. There are governing bodies that you can be a part of. I believe there is the ICF in America. There are different in the UK. I only know of, the Career Development Institute for Careers Guidance and Careers Coaching, because that's what I was a part of. And they will offer you various terms of support, types of support, things that you can access. Whether that's for you or not is completely up to you. But being accredited, I just want to highlight, it does not make you good at it. Just having a certificate does not make you any good at coaching. It is an indicator that you're good at learning, right? A lot of these qualifications are not set up to have practice alongside them, which is a huge downfall of the industry. And if you don't have that, you don't have the experience that's going to make you great. So really, coaching is experiential more than anything else. You can have all the knowledge in the world of how to leave your 9 to 5, but if you've not done it, you can't tell someone else how to do it. You can have all the knowledge in the world of investments, but if you're not investing, you don't get to tell someone to do it. That's the rule we live by in our house, because it's also a rule of, when I actually did academically study coaching and counseling models, counseling is based on congruence. That's one of the key themes. Everyone always speaks about Carl Rogers and, themes like unconditional positive regard. But the one that always spoke to me was congruence. Are you congruent with what you're saying? And congruence means, are you in alignment? Are you honest? And experience is what shows people that you can do it, right? Having the results is what shows people that you can do it. Any one of us could go to a therapist that has not worked their shit out, and they're telling you to work your shit out. And you're like, well, I don't know why your information isn't really landing. And it's because they have a certificate, but they don't necessarily have the experience to make it happen. And that's not to say that if you want to coach elite athletes, you have to be an elite athlete. It is to say, without the certification, you do. Without the results, you do. And typically that's where most people are starting now. They're starting from a place of having the result and then transitioning. I mean, if you look at, oh my gosh, look at Matthew McConaughey. Like, he's a perfect example of this. Matthew McConaughey, actor, wonderful. Oh my gosh, like, please listen to Green Lights on audio. It will change your life, because it is just so wonderful to hear that man speak for a long period of time. But also, now transitioning into the personal development space, has journaled for his whole life, literally created a book out of his journaling, and is holding personal development events. Oh my gosh, like, he is coming from a place of the results. If you are an actor, follow him, go to his personal development events and consume everything that he will give you. He has the result that you want, and results speak more than just a qualification. He doesn't have a life coaching qualification. To my knowledge, I don't remember him saying in his book that he had that. So I want to also give you a little extra nugget. And I am not saying that accreditations aren't great. To give you information, to give you knowledge, and to help you grow, they are wonderful. But you should not be seeking a certification just because you think you should have one. And if you are, go to the Center of Excellence. This is not, I don't know what their course is like. I just know they have a life coaching course. I think you can get those for $27 if you find their little offers and their coupons and stuff. And you could call yourself an accredited life coach through that. So don't find a qualification that's going to be, everything and above. What you need is to find someone that has the results and that can coach you to become the coach you want to be, should you be interested in going down a route of having support on this journey, which I highly recommend. But they have to have the result that you want. It is not useful to go to someone who doesn't have the result. So an example of this would be if you were interested in fitness, for example, and you want 6-pack abs, you're not going to go to someone who says they're a fitness coach but doesn't have 6-pack abs and has no idea how to get them and is so far from that, and you catch them at McDonald's on a Saturday night. You're just not going to go to that person. It doesn't line up. So don't be that coach. What I'm saying to you is find your area of genius, and we'll talk about that in a second. And also knowing that even without the qualifications and certifications, you can still facilitate amazing results. So I'm going to give you an example, and I just love this example because I'm so proud of this particular client, and no names will be named because I like to protect confidentiality. But I had a client at one point who was absolutely not someone that could travel in a car. They had had an experience in a car that had changed their world. They stopped driving. They went to many therapists. They were literally lying in the back of the car under a weighted blanket to get to work every day. Someone else had to drive them. It was debilitating, and it was spiraling out in other areas of this woman's life. And we had one session, and I'm not saying I'm a miracle healer. She had to be open and coachable and receptive, and she was. So she did the heavy lifting. I was just there to facilitate, but starts driving, still driving, checked in not even a few weeks ago, still driving, thriving, doing other really cool stuff too. Shout out to you. You know who you are if you're listening to this. I'm so proud of you right now. But I don't have a certificate in helping someone heal that kind of trauma. I just have experience of healing that trauma. I had a really terrible experience in a car when I was 19, and I've only just started driving now because of that. So I understand what it's like to have to walk through that and to have to like dive deep into that moment and then overcome it and understand like what is it that actually needs to be released. So if you've been through it, it's so much easier to get someone else the result. The certificate doesn't always matter. I'm telling you, she went to so many people to try and fix this. And then it was like one day she just shifted, and they will have had a cumulative effect. It's not that these people weren't good at their jobs. We're not like dissing people's practice. We're not saying that coaching is above all and don't go to a therapist. Like, go and get the support everywhere that you can when you're working through something. Everywhere that you can. I'm talking like therapy, go to your Reiki healer, like get a tarot reading, like do all the things that are going to make you feel better, and the cumulative effect will compound and you will break through like you've never broken before in a second, and it's a cumulative effect to get there. But I am saying that someone without the qualification facilitated that, not because I'm amazing, but to give you the understanding that you could totally do that too. I am not special. All I live through is experience. So when you start to take away, I don't need the certificate, then you start to think, okay, well, now I have to overcome the system. Mindset 2, overcome the system. The idea that if you don't see someone like you, you don't think it's possible for you. Imposter syndrome is systemic, right? Example, think of a lawyer. Your mind goes white male, right? If you are in Texas, your mind goes like Thomas J. Henry. Like, I see his ads everywhere, right? Not Elle Woods. Unless you are like seasoned in Legally Blonde. It's my favorite movie of all time. But you're going to automatically go white male. You're not going to go white female. You're not going to go white plus size female. You're not going to go into other minority groups. You're not going to go into specific, gender orientation, sexual orientation. You're not going to go into any of that. You're going to automatically have an idea of what is that person to you. And maybe you grew up where you had a doctor that was, I have an Amazon warrior doctor. My doctor is genuinely from the Amazon rainforest, and she is amazing. Like, I wish she has been my doctor my whole life. She is just the most wonderful person. And I know I've spoken about her on like podcasts and like everything before, but she is so wonderful. If I had her for my whole life, I would just imagine everyone's doctor was going to go with a holistic approach first. But that's not how I grew up, right? So we have an idea in our heads of instantly, this is what someone in this role looks like. And we see this a lot in social media. And if you look into coaching, I mean, most of the people that are at the top of the game of coaching are men. So as women, that like almost already puts us at like some kind of disadvantage. And we're just talking about systemically. We're not talking about the individual picture of like everyone has a seat at the table. That's like what we're getting to. But what we're saying is that if you already have a preconception, like, no, that's like pushing some weight on you that you've not even been realizing is there, right? And we see this a lot on social media. Typically, social media makes us judge and compare, but specifically in this, it makes us compare, and it's that comparison that gets you. You're comparing yourself against thought leaders in your industry that don't look like you, that don't talk like you, that don't believe like you. And it breeds imposter syndrome because it makes you feel like you're a fraud. So seeing these people online as the proof that what you want to do is possible, finding someone that's like you that is doing it is like gold dust, but becoming it yourself will always give you the deepest results. So I want to reference Lizzo, Queen Lizzo. We love Lizzo in my house. Her Emmy award-winning speech, you can Google this, and it is the best thing ever. And she's so emotional and wonderful. And oh my gosh, like I just love her soul as a human. Like, this is not an ad, but like, go check her out, buy some Yeti. Like, she deserves it. And she talks about when she was little, all she wanted to do was see someone like her in the media. And she said if she could go back and tell little Lizzo something, she'd say, you're going to see that person, but bitch, you're going to have to be it. Like, it's going to have to be you. So you don't have to see it modeled for you. That's what overcoming the system is. The fact that anyone is doing it means you can do it. And yes, we have more pressures on us. Everyone has different pressures on them from the life choices that they make, from the way that they were brought into this world, how they were brought up, where they were brought up, by who, in what race. We all have things, and some people have more things to get through than others. That's just unfortunately the way that the world works. That's the system. But the more that you believe that it can be you, the better your chances are. So that's overcoming the system. And that's where imposter syndrome that you're not even noticing is happening is like putting extra pressure on you, and you're just oblivious because you're not focusing on it, because you're trying to focus in on you and you doing your best, and you're not realizing there are pressures all around you that are telling you that you can't do it. And as soon as you are aware of them, then you can notice them in the moment and be like, not all lawyers have to be white dudes. Not all singers have to be slim, white, blonde. You know, you'll start to realize that you can make change as a human by noticing these things and just having awareness. So that was mindset 2, is like overcome the system. It's going to be easier for some people and harder for others. That is just a fact. Like, I know that I'm privileged to be, you know, a white heterosexual female in America. Like, I know the privilege that comes with that, and the more awareness that you have, the more people you can help along the way, because you know that just by being born this way, like, I won a genetic lottery. So the next step is that with that, like, it's almost like a humble attitude. You still have to give yourself a reason why it should be you. So mindset 3 is give yourself a reason. And why should people listen to you? Why should they? Like, not a reason for anyone else. Like, this is where it comes into just you, because now you're realizing I don't need a qualification. Okay, got it. No certification needed. And I don't need to see someone like me doing it, but I know that this not seeing someone like me do it is like adding pressure. Got it. Now we want to actually dive into you. Why should people listen to you? Because typically we shy away from this one because it feels too much like bragging. If I was to say, you should listen to me because I've done 7 years of personal development, I have coached for 9, I have co-created incredible results, some of which I've told you about, whether it's been on this show or previous, I've experienced like mind-blowing personal and professional results. And like, it is a pool of people on like one hand in my life that can pull a 5-figure month. And I'm really freaking proud of that. And I'm really proud of that being me. But maybe those feel showier than at the beginning. They're 100% showier than at the beginning when I had coached for 6 months, or when I had got one good result, or, you know, when I had made $1 online, you know. So I understand, because when I used to go on these trainings, I was at the very beginning, and typically I would listen to coaches that were like far beyond me, and I still do. I mean, my mentor is Brendan Bouchard, so I'm still listening to someone that's like millions, top of their game, has a freaking app, like is doing all the things. And it used to really throw me off, because then I would start to think, oh, and that comparison would get me. And I would think, oh, well, I'm not as good as them. But instead, I want you right now to think at the beginning, it is about what I have walked through. So if you overcame that horrific heartbreak and you found yourself, that is your result. If you rediscovered who you were after an illness that was set out to kill you, and you were told that like you were gonna die and you didn't, that is your result. You wake up happy after years of depression because you've put in so much work, that is your result. Like, you can handle your emotions and go out and hang out with your friends again after getting like anxiety like you wouldn't believe in the pandemic, being terrified of people. That is your result. Like, you have done something great, and to think that you haven't is a complete disservice to you as a human. I don't believe that you've never done anything great in your life. I don't believe that you've been perfect. None of us have been. But I do believe that you've done something great. And that's why people should listen. Everyone gets this platform. Not everyone uses it, but everyone gets this platform. Do you want to show up for other people on your social media, on YouTube, on podcasts, wherever you choose to be, wherever you choose to show up and do your marketing in the future? Are you doing that because you want to help someone else? Are you doing that because you're fighting the good fight? Probably, if you're here. 100%, in fact, if you're here, if you're still here, listening to this like blonde chick in the South of Texas saying how she thinks the world should be, you know, like, you've done something great. People should listen to you for that. And if they don't, I'm not upset. Like, don't be upset when they don't, because you know your value. It's a bit like, I used to watch these pawn shop shows with my dad, and they would haggle with someone. Someone would come in, they had no idea what they had. They have this like freaking, it's always like a crazy thing, like samurai sword. So they've got this like samurai sword, and they're like, I want $50. And the person's like, oh, I'll give you 45. And then they haggle and negotiate, and it's 48. And then they take this same samurai sword and they sell it for like $1,000 because they find the right person. They find the right person that knows the value, that knows that this samurai sword is worth 10 times what was paid, and they'll pay top dollar for it. This is about you knowing your value. You are a samurai sword. That's how we're going to end today. You're a samurai sword, sister. And it's about you knowing what your value is. Not so that you're like shoving it down people's throats. I don't shove anything down people's throats. You can come, you can leave. You know, people come and leave on my lives all the time. You know, people can come and leave, and it's fine. But it's knowing that I'm showing up to fight the good fight. And I'm showing up to say, hey, I have value. I know it. And I hope it helps you. It's coming from a place of being grounded and really loving yourself and knowing yourself. And that's the journey of a coach. Because people want to buy from someone that knows themselves, that's walked through the fire, not someone that just has the certificate. We've all had great doctors and not so great doctors, great hairdressers, not so great hairdressers. They all have the same fucking certification. But the result is different. You don't need the certification for this. You can do this. Take some learning. Definitely learn some core principles. But you don't need it. So those are 3 core mindset shifts for imposter syndrome. Mindset 1, no certificate necessary. I think if I've said that once, I've said it 100 times. Mindset 2, overcome the system. Know that there are other things in place that are telling you that you can't do it when you can. And mindset 3 is give yourself a reason. Remember what you're here for. Remember parts of your life that you've walked through that have been hard, that you thought would break you and they didn't. And you're still here. You're still here. So today's power question of the show is, why should they listen to you? And I want you to riff. When I do this with my clients, I say, give me 100 reasons. I get them to sit down and write 100 reasons, no more, no less. Certainly no less. They write 100 reasons why they're important, why they're special, why people should listen to them. And it's one of the biggest shifts that I find for my clients. So I hope that helps you. I hope you take it on. DM me at So Happy Success. Let me know that you did, or comment. I would love to hear. And in the meantime, I'll be over here believing in you as always. And I'll see you next week.